Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So excuse the very sort of impromptu feel of this video. I've come home from work and I've been wanting to do a video like this for so long, and I finally just had this feeling in me and I was like, right, I'm gonna do it. So I've just done it. I've like not even slightly sorted my face or anything like that, but I just thought I wanted to do it for a while, so I'm gonna sit down and do it. So backstory, I have made reference here and there in previous videos or on social media with my struggles with an eating disorder in the past, and every time I have mentioned it through whatever channel it is, I get inundated by messages from people who have suffered themselves, or relatives of people suffering, or friends, or people who are recovered, who just kind of not want to hear more about me as such. It's not that kind of thing. It's more like they just want to hear more about the experience and sort of my story. And to be honest, I really, and I'm probably going to say to be honest 1,000 times in this video, and this is not going to be a slick video and it's not going to be edited very well, because I want it to be very, very honest, as if I'm sitting in a room chatting to you. That's the kind of feel I'm going for. Yeah, I've wanted to do a video like this for a long time. I still haven't quite plucked up the courage to go all the way into the past and delve straight back in, so I thought I'd start with a video basically about my experience in my pregnancy last year. I had a little bit of a relapse, so I just want this video to be about eating disorders and pregnancy. I do still find all this sort of stuff quite hard to talk about. I wanted to be in a place where I wouldn't be emotional about it, so I could really sort of reach as many people as possible, because that is exactly what I'm trying to do here. I don't want sympathy, I don't want attention, I don't want anything like that. I genuinely just want to help someone out there who might be feeling a bit alone, or has no one to turn to, or doesn't feel they can speak to their nearest and dearest about what's going on. I just want to be some sort of outlet. I know I try to help people who are going through deployment. I try to help people going through the horrors of silent reflux of a baby, and just anywhere where I can help, I really am trying. And I feel like I'm very lucky to be sitting in the position I'm in, considering the way things were about 10 years ago. So if I can help anyone even slightly step towards recovery, then it'll be worth sharing my story. I am worried. I know I put our lives out there and I put myself out there, but I am very good at dealing with judgment these days. I have moved in a lot since my emotional, paranoid about what everyone thinks about me days. But obviously this sort of topic is very, very tough to broach in the right way, I think. So we'll start with talking about just what happened last year, and then hopefully it'll spur me on to do a whole series, which was my original plan, about everything, and just my story, my illness, my recovery, my treatment and stuff like that, just so that it can hopefully help someone else. So yeah, last year I was pregnant with Lachlan, who is now 9 months old, and I had a bit of an experience that really shocked me, to be honest. When I got pregnant with Isla, we'd been trying for about a year. I was obviously desperate to be pregnant, got pregnant, really embraced pregnancy. I was very lucky. I craved things like fruit and tangerines and vinegar and really bizarre things, but overall pretty healthy. I did suffer with morning sickness, but it was more sort of nausea rather than actual sickness. And I think just because I was so happy to be pregnant, I just embraced that, and I embraced the way my body was changing, and I was just so grateful that my body had like finally accepted that it could have a baby, and I just went with it. And then when we got pregnant with Lachlan, it was obviously planned. We just started trying and it happened. That was great, but I didn't have that like whole big trying thing again, which was really, really good. The problems kind of started when I started craving really like what would be in my head bad food. So it was basically, I was so sick, so sick, like actually sick this time, and nauseous at the same time, but it got to the point where all I could eat was salted chips and barbecue sauce and Rice Krispies, and that was it. Like I just couldn't stomach anything else, and that's what I ate, and it kind of set the scene for most of my early pregnancy. All I wanted to eat was rubbish. And for someone who is still a control freak when it comes to things like that, and I do tend to sort of exercise a lot and things like that and eat pretty healthily, it was very, very hard to then accept that my body, because it was growing a baby, was kind of going against me and going against my mind, saying, oh no, but I want to eat this, this and this. I went completely off meat. I just wanted crisps. I just wanted junk food. I just wanted all these things that I always sort of refrained and stopped myself from eating. All of a sudden that's all my body wanted. And yeah, it was really hard to kind of get my head around the fact that it was okay for that, and it was going to be a temporary thing. And it kind of also because it was second pregnancy, and I had exercised between Isla and Lachlan, but obviously your body's been through it once before, so your muscles just go, oh, I know what I'm doing, and they just go straight away, and you show a lot quicker, you feel a lot bigger a lot quicker. I had a lot more like bloating and things like that, and I generally just felt a lot heavier, a lot quicker, and I think that coupled with the craving food that I wouldn't usually eat, that in my mind was very bad for me, and then just feeling very out of control about everything. Rob was deploying early. My eating disorder in the past all stemmed from sarcoidosis, all stemmed from control rather than looks. It was all about controlling my life and becoming this perfect version of myself because I had self-control. So I felt like perhaps I was losing control a little bit because Rob was deploying, I had a toddler, I was pregnant, it happened quicker than I thought, and I was still working and still working on the blog and the YouTube channel, and it just was like so many things, and I think I just lost control, and that contributed along with the other factors to me just slipping into a very, very negative cycle of thoughts, basically. It got to the point where my brain was just turning around and saying, oh my goodness, like you look awful, like look at you, you don't even look pregnant, you just look really fat. Because you look fat, you're a disgusting person, you're a bad wife, you're a bad mom, you've got no self-control. And it's weird how like one little teeny thought can just go on and on and on and on, to the point where you have these ridiculous thoughts that you just can't control. And I did a lot of CBT therapy as part of my recovery, so that's cognitive behavioural therapy, where it changes your thought process, and that has worked for me massively, and that's the thing I credit to me being the way I am now and being able to be as healthy as I am now and as happy as I am now. It's a kind of thought process that when you start to think those sorts of things, it kicks in and it stops you thinking. And I don't know if maybe again another factor could have been the hormones in pregnancy, but it just shut that off. Like it shut off my rational thinking completely, and I just went down a really, really bad spiral and cycle into just self-loathing again, I guess. Like it just got to the point where I just felt absolutely horrendous, and I just wasn't enjoying the pregnancy at all. And we also had a lot of scares in the beginning, which contributed to the lack of control. I really genuinely didn't think that we were going to end up with a baby at the end of pregnancy when we were so early on, and I have written about that in the past on the blog and addressed that in other like pregnancy updates and videos. But obviously we did, we had a beautiful baby boy, but at that moment in time I think those sorts of thoughts also contributed to the way I just kind of spiraled out of control, to be perfectly honest. And I did stop eating, not to the point where I would ever be unhealthy or harm my baby, but I was reading up all these ridiculous things about like how little nutrition like a baby would need at that stage, so trying to figure out how little I needed to eat to then feel better about myself, and it was just horrible. I also managed to exercise a lot when I was pregnant with Isla, up until the point where I ended up in hospital at like 20 weeks. Nothing to do with that, it was just something else, and then they told me to stop. So I managed to keep really fit, but with Lachlan, from like within weeks of being pregnant, I was absolutely wiped. Like I think my iron levels went really low, and I just could barely get up the stairs. So again, another thing, all these things just contributed to making like a really horrible like pot of emotions and thoughts and just blehness that kind of made me start slipping towards eating disordered behavior again. And I think in pregnancy that's a very taboo thing to talk about, because you're pregnant, you should be very grateful you're pregnant, you're very lucky to be pregnant. And don't get me wrong, like I had all those thoughts going through my head every single day, and that made me feel even worse, because I was just like, but I'm so lucky this time we didn't have to try for a long period of time. This time there's all these people who are desperate to have a baby, and I'm pregnant, and I'm being horrible to myself, and I'm not looking after myself in the best way I should be for me and my baby. And I just felt like such an awful person, like but it's like depression, it's like postnatal depression, it's like any mental illness. It is an illness, it's something you can't just switch on and off. If you could, then nobody would have problems, you know what I mean? Like nobody wants to feel those sorts of things. And I just, yeah, it went on for a while, and it got to the point where I had to say something to a midwife, because I was genuinely scared about my behaviour, and I was scared about the way I was being, and I never ever would want to bring harm to my baby. So I ended up bringing it up with a midwife, and she referred me to a consultant midwife who was better trained in those sorts of things, and she had a few chats with me, and we had a big discussion about whether I did want to go down a therapy route again or anything like that. And to be honest, it probably went on for a couple of months or so, which doesn't sound like a long time, but in the grand scheme of a sort of 9 months, but not 9 months because you don't find out you're pregnant until a little bit in. But you know what I mean, like in a short period of time of pregnancy, it was a long time, and it was a long time to feel so awful when you should be embracing it and enjoying it and loving it. And I think just as I was about to kind of decide what I was going to do, it was almost like a fog kind of lifted, and I just, the sickness went on for months and months, don't get me wrong, but the hormone levels must have changed again, and I felt less out of control of everything, and I managed to start eating more things, and I managed to eat more like the way I used to eat. And I never really gained the exercise thing again just because of the way the pregnancy went, but I could go out for walks without wanting to pass out and things, and it just, all these little things sort of came together. So we agreed that I'd be monitored, like weight wise and mood wise, by a midwife, but I didn't feel like I needed to go down the full-on therapy route. And even she said it might not have, even with the way funding is and the way things like that are, and obviously not knowing whether it was going to push me into something for long term. Obviously if that was the case, then I would have got myself referred back to get help out with pregnancy, but touch wood, that hasn't been the case. So that's why I feel like I can talk about this and just kind of lift the taboo a bit, because it feels like when you're pregnant you do need to be so grateful and happy, and you do, of course you do, but at the same time it feels like sometimes you can't feel other things and you can't feel anything bad, and when you are, you can feel very, very alone and very, very bad about yourself and just very isolated from everything. And that's pretty much how I felt, and I felt really shut off from everything, and I was shutting myself away from people, and I wouldn't want anyone else to feel like that. And if they are, it'd be great if me saying all this could help someone recognize that's how they're feeling and realize that there is help out there. There's always help out there. You can go online, there's all sorts of apps and things that help with like just your mental health and your mood. But if it gets to the level where you are concerned that it might not get better with something like that, then please talk to your midwife, please talk to your friends, please talk to your doctor, anyone who can help you, or who can help you get to the help you need to have. Then just do it, because there's no I was like, oh my goodness, what if like they think I'm a terrible mom, and then they like tell social services and they take out like really ridiculous thoughts. But you kind of do think like that when you're pregnant and you're a bit crazy. So yeah, but nothing, like nobody judged me, nobody made me feel bad about myself. It was just that getting that little bit of extra help to get me through a particularly tough time. And I think I've rambled on enough, to be honest. I don't know how this is going to come across, and I'm sorry if this sort of thing bores you or anything like that, because I don't do a lot of these sit down chatty videos, but it's been something I've been wanting to get off my chest for a long time. I did do a blog post on it, and I delved more into my past and my stuff in that, because I found it easier, because when you write, you can just write and come back to it, and you can get sad about things and go away and come back. But obviously on video, you can see what I'm doing, you can see what I'm saying, or hear what I'm saying even, so it's harder to get across. So I did put a lot more in the blog post. It got so much attention's the wrong word, I didn't want attention, it's not attention, it got a lot of it reached a lot of people, there you go. And I got a lot of feedback from it, and that's why I'm doing this, and that's why hopefully if I upload this and if I get this up, then hopefully it will spur me on to actually sit down and take you back about 10-15 years. And yeah, oh god, it's just such a hard topic to really address and talk about. And my main concern and my main worry about doing videos about this and why it's taking me so long to do it is I don't get emotional. It's not me, it's got nothing to do with me, but I don't want to bring up those feelings for my family and my friends that were there all those years, wasn't well, and I wasn't in a good place, and the thought of like upsetting them again and bringing back really rubbish memories and times for them is what's ultimately stopped me from doing this until now. But yeah, I've had some conversations with my mum about it, and I just want to help. That's what it boils down to. I just want to help. And I know back then I didn't have the whole social media pressure, I didn't have all that sort of stuff, so I can't even imagine what someone going through what I was going through back then would go through now, with all the added pressures of what's out there now. And I would hate, I think about Isla, and I think about that's my daughter, and if she was at that age, then if I could just be someone random that just helps someone else's daughter or someone else's friend or sister to not go through that, then that's what I want to do. So yeah, anyway, thanks for watching. If you got to the end of this, then thank you, well done. And yeah, I'll see you soon. Bye.